Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to today's class for the 6th elementary grade. Our textbook is Week 3, and today inshallah we will have our second enrichment, and it will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Salih Al-Ujan. So let's begin. The first lesson we had in the third unit from this semester was about finding out times, where we talk about different chores that we do in our home. So let's now listen and practice and do this in pairs. So let's talk about the free time activities that we usually do in our home. So the first thing here, I would like to say it, and I would like you to say it after me. So the first thing is, I cleaned my room. I cleaned my room. And usually when we say different activities, we say comment or we give a comment. Like for example, that is boring. That is boring, which is usually when you say it to a comment that for something that you don't like. And also, number 2, you practiced on the trampoline. You practiced on the trampoline. And that's great. This is the comment. And the third one, he watched a DVD about sharks. He watched a DVD about sharks. And as a comment, that is scary. Also, number 4, he kicked a ball for 3 hours. He kicked a ball for 3 hours. And also, number 5, they played computer games. They played computer games. And as a comment, we would say, that's great. That's great. Also, with the number 6, Fahad studied for 6 hours. Fahad studied for 6 hours. And the comment was, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. And number 7, Ali cooked breakfast. Ali cooked breakfast. And as a comment, that's great. And number 8, Noura stayed home. Noura stayed home. And the comment was, that is boring. So no matter what are the activities that we use, we usually should give a certain comment. Whether if we like it, we have other comment, and if we don't like it, we will say also different comment. So here, let's practice these comments together and to know what are the comments that we usually say when we are happy and what are the comments that we say when we are sad. So let's start with the first one. Ask, listen, and comment. First, let's practice these comments. The first comment is, and I would like you to say it after me, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. This is a comment. We usually say it when we are happy. When we are happy and glad, and if we like the thing that we saw, then we would say, that is fantastic. Number 2, that's great. That's great. That's great also, same to that's fantastic. When we're glad, when we like what we saw, then here we would say, that's great. And the third one, that is okay. That is okay. That is okay. We say it when we not necessarily like the thing we saw or we don't like it. So it's in between. It's not like we like it or it's not that we hate it, for example. So we would say that is okay. And number 4, that's boring. That is boring. And that is boring is a comment that we say when we don't like what we see, when we don't like the thing that we see. And finally, that is scary. That is scary. That is scary when we saw something that is terrifying and we don't like it at all. Here we would say that is scary. So these are the comments. Make sure to use them when you hear or when you saw anything that whether you like from here or if you don't like. And after this, we said that you can play a game. For example, when you circle and you gather around, maybe with the family members or with your classmates, and when you listen to each other and ask them this question, what did you do over the weekend? What did you do over the weekend? When you ask this question, you will hear different answers from people around you. Answers like, I cooked a big breakfast. I cooked a big breakfast. Maybe someone would say this. Now it is your job to give a comment from the comments that we learned. If you like it, then you would say it is fantastic. If you don't, you would say that's boring. So you can choose different comments of the comments that we learned here. And after this lesson, we went to grammar in action lesson, where we talk about regular verbs in the past. And we said that we usually use these verbs no matter what the subject pronoun is. And we don't make any changes to the verb. So here we have, for example, practiced, which is a verb, a regular verb in the past. As you can see here, we only added to it ed. So no matter what the pronoun we used with it, the verb will remain the same. So we can say, I practiced, you practiced, he practiced, she practiced, we practiced, you practiced, and they practiced. So no matter what the subject pronoun is, we keep it as it is. We don't make any changes to the verb. This is how we use pronouns with verbs in the past. And after this, we had a chant about the regular verb chant. We had a chant about regular verbs. Let's try to remind ourselves of this chant. Let's listen to it one more time, and then we can see how these verbs is used as single word and also with sentences. Number one, practiced, practiced. I practiced my English. I practiced my English. Number two, watched, watched. You watched a DVD. You watched a DVD. Number three, cooked, cooked. She cooked breakfast. She cooked breakfast. Number four, kicked, kicked. He kicked a ball. He kicked a ball. Number five, cleaned, cleaned. They cleaned the house. They cleaned the house. Number six, stayed, stayed. We stayed at home. We stayed at home. Number seven, played, played. You played outside. You played outside. And number eight, studied, studied. You studied a little. You studied a little. So these are about the verbs, and we learned that we read each verb alone and also with sentences on these verbs. And after this, we had an important note about regular verbs. We said that, yes, all regular verbs ends with ed when we write them, but they have different sounds at the end. So some of these verbs that ends with ed have the t sound, t sound. And some of the verbs that ends with ed, they have the d sound. let's listen first to the first group of words here, the first group of verbs, and then we'll see how they are pronounced, and then we'll move to the second one. So the first set of verbs here is, and see how it ends with the t. For ed we say t, like practice, practiced, practiced. Watch, watched, watched. Cook, cooked, cooked. Kick, kicked, kicked. So these are examples of the verbs that ends with t sound at the end. Now let us move on to the other group here, which is verbs that ends with d sound. So for ed we say d. For example, clean, cleaned, cleaned. And also play, played, played. And study, studied, studied. So it's very important that we learn the differences between these two sounds. After this, we had an interesting game that is called the verb game number 1, where you listen to the teacher saying certain sentences and you circle the verbs that the teacher mentioned in these sentences. Like, for example, when we play this game, we listen to the sentences the teacher says, like, or the verbs from these sentences, like practiced, played, kicked, watched, and stayed. And after this, we say that in the other version of this game, you can just have an empty table, and then you can listen and write the whole verbs that the teacher say. And after this, we had an interesting listening exercise where we did listen and circle the answers in the chart. So as you can see here, we want to make a meal, we want to make food. So this table has all the things that we need. What exactly do we need, and how much do we need, and how many do you need, and whether we have it or if we don't have it. If we have it, then we would say yes. If we don't, we would say no. So we have a couple of information to start with, like we have 2 cups of flour, and also we do have 4 tomatoes. And also we want to make pizza, but we don't have any oil. So after we listen to these 2 ladies talking about how to make pizza and what the things that we have and the things that we don't have, so this is what are the new answers. That how much oil do we need? Have a cup. And how much cheese do we need? 3 cups. And also, how many peppers do we need? 2. And how many mushrooms do we need? We need 10. And after this, we did practice how to use yes, and to answer yes or no, and how to use sentences with some, any, and but. So after we listen to these 2 ladies discussing how to make pizza, then here we come up with sentences about what do they have and what they don't have. And how can we use this? By saying we have and using but in the middle. So for example, the first example we have is when they say we have some flour, but we don't have any oil. And also the other example we can write here, for if we said we have mushrooms, but we don't have any flour. So this is how we can say about the things that we have and the things that we don't have. After this, we said that try to play a role here, which is ordering from a restaurant. So imagine that if you are a waiter or a waitress and you want to take an order from a partner. That partner could be your classmate or even a family member. So what you need to do is to start, if you are a waiter, to start your question with, what would you like? What would you like? What are the things that you would like for me to write here? And also to, and if you listen to the order from the customer, then you will say the final sentence, which is, sure, just a moment. And if you switch roles, if you are the customer, then you would start your phrase with I would like, and then you choose anything you would like from the menu. I would like a sandwich, please. I would like a glass of water, please, and so on. After this, with the phonics, we listen to words that has the ND sound and NT sound. Like, for example, sand and tent. We also did this exercise where we listen and check ND or NT when we listen to these four words. Not only this, but we also wrote or completed the missing letters from these words. Like, for example, the first word was hand. We listened to hand, and then we put a check mark here, and then we wrote the missing letters. And after this, we listened to the second word, which is paint. Paint, that ends with NT, so here we put a check mark, and here we wrote NT. And the third word was stand. Here where we added ND, we put a check mark on ND, and also we write the missing letters here. And finally, the last word was plant. Here we put a check mark here, and we wrote NT here. These exercises are important just for us to know the differences between words that ends with NT and also with ND. And after this, we did listen to a chant, and this chant has different words, ends with ND and NT. Let's listen one more time to this chant and try to listen carefully so we can remember how to pronounce each of these words ends with ND and NT. So, there is a sand all around. There is sand in my hand. Golden sand in the sun. There is a tent on the land. There is a tent on the sand. Golden sand in the sun. So here with this chant, we did learn the words that ends with ND, like sand, hand, and also words that ends with NT, like, for example, tent. We did look for these words, and also we did circle them. After this, the last exercise we have is in a shopping mall exercise, where I ask you that to be an information person and show a person the right place. So when you're going to a mall, for example, and when you see someone lost, you can start offering your help by saying, "Can I help you?" And if this person got lost or looking for a certain store, you can use phrases like, "It's here," if it's close, or "It's over there." This conversation will help you practice your English and also make you the information person that everyone is looking for. So here we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.